Dear 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 ba 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 bum. Are you okay? You look a little beat up. On April 28th, my wife Pat, aka the goddess or the goddess Durga, and I loaded two bikes on the back of our car and headed west, 321 miles from our home near Raleigh, North Carolina, to South Carolina's Nantahala Outdoor Center, Chattooga River Station, to commemorate our not quite 33-year-old son Sean's early May birthday by spending a few days with our raft guide, Wild Child. With a 5.5 hour drive in front of us, we tuned into the Wellness Blueprint by Dr. Caleb Davis, formerly the Dr. Big Guy podcast, that my nephew, Caleb Davis, and his wonderful wife, Nicole, co host. Caleb is an orthopedic surgeon in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and the pair have a fun, lighthearted podcast that explores best practices for healthier, more vital, and longer lives. While Pat and I deeply love both Caleb and Nicole and greatly enjoy their presentation style, we remain occasional listeners rather than dedicated Wellness Blueprint devotees. And as I drove, Pat selected the next podcast in the series from where we'd left off. After a few minutes of listening, I was congratulating myself on my depth of knowledge concerning the information the Davises were presenting. But my balloon burst quickly as I realized we'd heard this episode, the final DRBG of 2024, and were ready to move on to their January 1st, 2025 offering. Their first podcast of 2025 emphasized exercising smart, starting from where and how one should start in order to prevent injury, the need for doing a variety of exercises, striving for improvement, and the importance of challenging ourselves while exercising if we wish to maximize the goals of being happy, healthy, and being humble. Among the pearls of wisdom CNN delivered was the difference in post-exercise metabolism following steady state versus interval workouts, with an emphasis on challenging ourselves with bursts of higher intensity exercise as opposed to the healthful but not optimal moving along at a continuous lower aerobic intensity. My wife is a lifelong competitive athlete who participated in various high school sports at the varsity level as well as in college as a low-tier athlete. She could easily pass for a woman a generation younger and is truly amazing. I'm no slouch, but I'm no goddess either. My parents tried to get me to play sports, but I wasn't interested in competition. I did, however, discover cycling in my freshman year of college, and over the last 45 years, I've cycled the equivalent of 10 times around the earth. I ride a lot. When I went to college, I rode to school. When I worked, I rode to work, and I've done tens of thousands of miles with bike clubs, thousands of miles doing both mountain bike and road races, along with biathlons and triathlons. And I still ride, but I stopped racing a couple of years ago, and as my speed decreased with age, my intensity did as well. I'm on track to ride 5,000 miles this year, but my effort has dropped to sporty, and my speed is slowing. According to cyclinglevel.com, a 65-year-old man cycling 10 miles will require 54 minutes, 57 seconds if he's a beginner, 47 minutes, 31 seconds if he's intermediate, and 42:26 if he's advanced. I typically ride 15 to 20 miles per day at an average speed of 13.5 mph, which is the equivalent of completing a 10-mile ride in 44:33, which, according to CL, places me in the intermediate range for old codgers. I do work out and I cycle faster than my wife, but by every other metric, she kicks my sweet patootie. All this is preamble to the crash, bam, boom, ow, 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 fantastic off-road bicycle ride I took with my wife and son at the Stump House Mountain Bike Park and the subsequent text I sent to my nephew, Dr. Davis. I did a few road races and occasional duathlon back in the 80s, but most of my bike racing was on mountain bikes. Pat and I both enjoyed mountain biking, and when we lived in Atlanta, Indianapolis, and Cedar Rapids, Iowa, we did a lot of it. But our move from Iowa to Tampa pushed us more towards triathlons and away from off-road cycling. It had been a year since I had gone off-road cycling somewhere that the term mountain biking applied. Sean and I had gotten lost while riding at Stump House 3 years ago. Completely my fault, but we had a more successful mountain bike excursion at Stump House in 2024. This year, we pulled into the parking lot, unloaded the bike, slipped our helmets on, and started climbing the easy trail. And climbing, and climbing. Though the beginning of the trail was easily negotiated from a bike handling perspective, it starts with a very steep climb that had both of us sexagenarians gasping. By the way, Pat's sexy and I know it. Disclosure, I was pleased to hear Pat gasping. Biking is my thing. It is the only sport we do together at which I am better than she, and I did not want to be the weak link in our chain. Psst, this is foreshadowing. We climbed, and once we crested the first long knoll, the train became harder, easier. It was much easier from an aerobic perspective. We climbed, we dipped, we climbed again. We were doing intervals. Aerobically, the ride got easier, but the farther we went, the greater the need for wicked bike handling skills, dude. Pat is an emotive machine, especially if she is angry or frustrated. We were both extremely frustrated, and I feared I'd ruin our ride with our son. We kept going, and fortunately, muscle memory of both Pat and me began reawakening, and we started having fun. Failing to best an obstacle is not fun. Successfully negotiating a tree root, a down branch, a sharp curve in the trail, followed by a steep climb or a creek crossing is awesome. We were having fun. We were still having fun the first time I crashed, the time when I channeled my inner Bailey and declared, I'm all right, as I lay in a tangled mess on the trail. We had fun through my half dozen crashes, 4 of which left me mildly scraped and bruised, and 1 of which had me land in a position that gave the appearance that I'd broken my ankle. I hadn't, and I assured 2 of my absolute beloved peeps that I truly was all right. We kept going and going and going. We were all tired. We were low on water, and we were ready to be done. SPK and PTK, a.k.a. Durga, whipped out their phones, cued GPS, and we took a small detour, ending our 10-plus mile bike adventure via a short section of country road before we 3 kids of Oxenden arrived back at our car and figuratively fell prostrate on the ground and kissed the gravel parking lot. Later that day, I sent this text to my nephew Caleb. Pat and I are intermittent, including a photo of scraped up me. His return text was, thanks for listening. Are you okay? You look a little beat up. To which I replied, ha, I'm fine. I may have crashed a few times on the trail. The 3 of us had a blast out on the trail. We stretched beyond our comfort zones, and when Durga and I were alone, I asked her, can you imagine any of our parents going mountain biking at 64 years of age? We both agreed that the thought was incomprehensible and that we need to keep pushing ourselves to be the parents our 2 sons, daughter-in-law, and grand one deserve. Thanks, Caleb and Nicole. We're looking forward to seeing you and the extended family come the end of May.